Hey guys, welcome back to King's Outdoor Life. I'm making this video because I was about to do something, then when I looked for a video about it, I didn't really see any. And it's a pretty simple process. I probably shouldn't needed a how-to video, but don't we all go looking for how-to videos now before we do anything? So that's why I'm making this video about converting my reloader here. Which one? I've got 3 MECs set up here. I've got one set up to load 20. This one's set up to load 12 gauge. And this one I just bought, and it's got a 12 gauge setup, a 16 gauge setup, and I've also now bought a 28 gauge setup. And so I wanted to convert this from a 12 gauge loader, where it's set up now, to a 28 gauge reloader. So that's the purpose of today's video. It should be pretty simple. I'm not going to drag it out, but I will try to take some time to show you each step. And sorry for the lighting. I didn't realize how dark my reloading room was until I started to try to do a video. And so I hung up a little extra light here. It kind of throws some weird light, but I hope you can see what we're doing. I hope I can see what I'm doing. But anyway, if you want to see something else that you're looking for some other video, mention that in the comments. If that's something I know how to do, I'll try to do it and make a video about it, because I'm always looking for ideas on how to make videos here. So like this one, hit subscribe, put a comment below of what you want to see. And maybe we can do that in the future. So again, thanks for watching, and let's get into it. So one thing I probably should have mentioned is this is kind of a little bit of a haphazard workbench here, but I made this. I needed something to fit in this little corner in my closet upstairs. So I made the uppers from some doors I had laying around. So I've got components up there, and I just made me a little desktop here with some 4x4 legs. But anyway, side note there. All right, so let's dig into it. So here's what this kit looks like in the box that it was shipped to me in. It looks like a whole bunch of pieces, and until you really kind of dig in and know what you're looking for here, and that's exactly what it is, a bunch of random pieces. But once you take it apart, you'll understand what we have here. So on the MEC, we basically have, this is a MEC 600 Junior, and it's a single stage press. That's what all 3 of these are MEC 600 Juniors, and they all look pretty well the same, but you'll all see a little difference with things like this one, where this is metal, this is plastic. On this one here, both of these are metal, and on this one here you have plastic and plastic. And this one, most of these pieces are plastic. I haven't had a ton of experience with this one. You know, this 20 gauge one here is plastic, whereas this 12 here is metal. I don't know how many hundred rounds I've loaded here, but measured in the hundreds, not thousands like some people. Same way here, though. I've had this one about a year, and I've probably loaded, I don't know, 300 to 500, probably 500 shells, and I've not had a minute's trouble so far out of these plastic pieces. Shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, single stage, meaning you do the first stage back here is the deprime. You knock your primers out here with this back station. Then you move it to this front right here, and you put a primer in. You move it to the middle section here, and this is where you pull this back up, pull this lever down, and then you just put in your powder, put in your wadding, put in your shot, and then you move to the pre-crimp stage and the final crimp stage. So you basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stages here to replace. And I really don't see a reason as to which order or what order you'd want to put it in, but I'm just going to start with the easiest ones first. You also have this plate down here, so I guess you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting this makes 6 different pieces to change out. And again, there's no particular order. I'm going to start with the easiest ones first, and I'm going to try to put my camera here on a tripod so I can use both hands, and maybe that'll work better. Okay, I'm going to start with the easiest one first. All right, take 2. I'm going to start with the easiest one first, and that's the pre-crimp. I should add, there are instructions that come with this, so you can download that online, or shoot me a comment below if you need me to try to scan you a set of those. I can try to do that. But this pre-crimp station is really easy, because in these plastic models, you kind of wiggle it and it pops off. I don't know the term for this little hole here, but it's basically just a little, like a nipple that falls on here. It's just a round, and I don't know if I probably can't zoom in on that enough to try to show you, but It's just a little round nipple that goes on there, and there's no threads, it just pushes straight up on there. With a 12 gauge, you'll have either a 6 or an 8 star crimp. You just got to make sure you get the right ones you need there. With the 28 gauge, you only have the one choice, and it is right here. It's a 6-fold crimp there. So you just pop that on, and that's it. I hope you can hear that noise. Now, on the older versions, on the metal versions, it's as simple as a flathead screw, and there's a that's threaded there, and it puts up in there, and you can change out a little brass piece in there that changes from either a 6 or an 8-point crimp. All right, so that's easy enough on that one. I've put this clamp here to try to hold this in place, because when it comes to popping off, I don't know what tools I'm going to need here for this, but you've got to lift up this spring and pop off this plate down here at the bottom. So you got to get it up, and then this should just slide. And this is going to be dependent upon how long this plate has been on there, and how rusty and that sort of thing your loader is. So it should just slide right off. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. So that slid off there. So I'm sitting on my 12 gauge here to the side. I'll show you, I've got a little Tupperware thing with a 16 gauge. I'm going to sit all this over here on top of that, and then later I'll have a box. This box will be empty here that the 28 gauge came in. I'll put all my 12 gauge pieces in this. All right, so that plate's off. Take this opportunity to clean under it if there's anything there. Take your wire brush if you need it. This one is in really good shape. This one in the middle is not. If you'll go look at my video number 129, this middle loader here that I've got set up for 12 gauge sit in a big, huge box, like a storage box in my attic for years. And when I went to take it out, when we were moving actually, it was a total rust bucket, and I had to bring it back from death. So go watch that video if you're interested. All right, so this one just pops right back on there in the same place. I didn't bring I got a hammer in here somewhere. I may need that, but I'm gonna try not to make that much noise for you. Yep, just pops right back in place. You just want to make sure that gets in the right place. I recommend having a hole. This is an empty shell. It's a hole. Having that in place there so you can see where it's going to come down, where it's going to hit there, and see, just to be sure you got that centered. And we can check that at each step just to make sure that's going to line up. Right now I've got the 12 gauge rammer tube, and so that won't go down in there, but I can see it's pretty well lined up. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the next one, and I don't know which one that is. I think I'll move to the front one here. I'm going to flip this over to try to get to this, and it is just a flat head screwdriver. This is where you, oh, that was really easy. On my middle one here, it was really not easy. So unthread it, and you should be able to use the same little screw. All these parts are available on the MEC website. So any part you need that's damaged or lost, it's all available out there on the website. This one's got a screw already with it. I'm just going to leave it in the box here and use the one I had. And there's a little I'm going to call it a grommet. It's basically a washer with a little spacer in there. So I'm going to leave that in its place, and you'll just tighten that down. Doesn't have to be super tight, but there it is. All right, that's 1, 2, 3 pieces, and we have about 1, 2, 3 more. Oh, and the wad guide. All right, those 3, the front 2 and this little plate down here, are definitely going to be the easiest. This piece here on the wad guide, you'll see it's on a little thing that slides up and down. You should be able just to pop it out. I don't want to break it, but it should just pop right out of there. My biggest problem is always breaking stuff, so I always worry about that. So I'm going to try not to break it. Let me look at the one that I have here. This kit the guy sold me actually came with a metal one and a plastic one. I'm going with the plastic one first. These are interchangeable. They're not expensive, but I don't want to break it. It just has a little groove there that slides right in that one. See if I can pop it loose. This should have enough play in it. There. Yeah, there we go. Just pull it straight out there. There you go. Okay, now I can see, this is why you do videos and you learn from videos. This is wider at the top. So put it in up here and slide it down. These only go one way. Be sure your wad finger's going down. Do not stick your finger in that. When I was a kid, I was reloading with my dad and I stuck my finger down in one, and it's kind of like one of those Chinese finger traps. You can't pull it back out. If you do that, here's how you get your finger out. Take a wad, take a hole and cut it and slide the hole in there around your finger. Split it, put it around your finger and slide it in there, and you can use that to press out the wad fingers, and then you can slide your finger in. All right, so this is a 12 gauge. I'm gonna slide it over here. I'll take the 28 gauge. I'm gonna put it in the water part up top and slide it down. Much easier process there. All right, the rammer tube won't fit in there, but I know that's right. All right, let me pause the camera here and before I tackle these next ones. All right, I'm gonna try to hold the camera here for a minute so maybe you can see this. I'm gonna show you 3 different ones. And this is the wad pressure here, and these little marks here on the drop tube are important because you can pull them out and put it at different levels. All right, and this, first you gotta loosen the screw. I should have said it. This is a little Allen screw right here. My little set from Harbor Freight came with they're the little T, like torch bits, and the Allen sample. It's a T25. So I loosened that first. And then the reason I'm pointing out these little marks here is I'm going to look up where to set this one, but on my 12 gauge, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 marks down because that's where it should be for the 1.25 ounce heavy pheasant loads I'm loading here. On this 20 gauge, I'm loading at the 7/8. So I got it down to just, the second one down, a little second mark down. So when I put my rammer tube in here for this one, then I'm going to set it down here just to 1 line showing, and then I'll do some research and figure out if that's right or not, and then come back. And if I find that's different, I'll put it in the comments below, but it should just be 1. All right, let me put my camera. The first thing here, this is just a drop tube. This is a piece of plastic. I had to replace that on a 12 gauge one here. It's a piece of plastic that sits right down in there. Again, available on MEC's website. And then once you've loosened this, you can push this from the bottom. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna push it up. And I'm gonna take out my wad guide, and that way it's not in the way. So this is why you watch videos. You learn them. First time I've done this, but I've got a camera, so it makes me an expert. So I'm pulling this out the bottom. I've just barely got this loose because I don't want it to be just flopping everywhere. I may have to loosen it just a little more. That should be about it. All right, so I'm gonna take that out, and you can see a little corrosion there. Don't put any grease on this. Don't put anything that would cause powder and stuff to stick later. You probably can't see that, but there's all these marks up through here, and all those marks are important based on what load you're loading. All right, I'm gonna set that aside. And then now I've got my new one here. I'm gonna push it up in there, all the way up, and bring it back down. I'm gonna push it back down. Nope, too far. I want 1 line showing there, and then my powder tube drops right in there. So then the powder tube stays still, as you can see, as the rammer tube slides up and down. All right, so I've got that where I want it, and I'm gonna take my Allen and tighten that down. I say get it pretty tight. I don't want that moving there. So I'm gonna actually tighten this, because I don't see why it would matter. I don't ever want to over tighten anything, but I want it tight. I don't want it moving. All right, so that's, I sometimes break things that over tighten them, so I'm gonna stop there. All right, I feel good about that. I'm gonna pull this back down and stick my wad guide. You see me checking here. I don't want to put it upside down, and then just pop that back in place there. All right, so we should be good to go now. So let's go ahead again, check everything now. I can finally see if that'll push down there, and it will. So that looks good. This is centered up and down here, and I can push that down. Now that didn't really crimp. It's called a pre-crimp. You don't want it to be just really, really, really crimped a lot. Some people say that you want to get it to where a primer will sit in the shell, but that's like for a 12, and this one won't do that. So this is not, that did not do that. You should be able to loosen this. That's 7/16 socket here. Opening wrench are probably better, but I didn't bring any opening wrenches. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. I'm gonna take that loose, and then once that's loosened, I should be able to lower that down. Let me show you how this works. I'm gonna pull this off here, and then there's a nut on the bottom side of this, right above that little nipple. I'm gonna show you that. I think it's important, because what you want to do is you need to be able to lower this wherever it needs to be, and this is your setting here. So this little nut there, I'm gonna bring it up to about right there, and then tighten it down. So you'll have to loosen the top, and then it'll tighten it down on itself. I'm gonna stick that back on there, up here at the top, and then I'll bring this down and see what my pre-crimp. That's about where I want it. You know, this is a part not through MEC. This is what I used to catch my primers. I think that came off a George Foreman grill, the Presto brand. All right, so I set that there, and this is where the guys say a primer will sit in that pre-crimp there. So I feel pretty good about that. All right, set that aside. I'm gonna tighten this back down, righty-tighty. There. See, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Are all socket sets like that, or just mine? All right, righty-tighty, and again, just kind of nudge that. You don't want that to be super, super tight. You don't want it moving, but that's pretty good there. All right, so now, got that where I want it. Got this where I want it. This is where you would put that primer back in. Now, I just got to get these back ones here. And again, they're the most difficult, so it takes a little brain power here on these. So let me think a minute, and then I will come back to you. All right, so the instructions say remove this cam right here. So there's a little Allen right there. So the first step is to take this and this off and take that little cam off, and that way you can pull it straight up, I guess. So I'll work on that, and then we'll come back to the next step. All right, so next up, I removed that cam right there. I need to get some paper towels. This is next. You need to loosen this, and I had to I had to put WD-40 on it and then really torque it on it. I had to turn it both ways to get it to come loose. All right, this will spin. So you got to hold this part. I'm holding this black part, and I'm spinning off this silver part. So then that takes this off. I'm gonna sit it right here for now, and then all of these things. I think I have a mixed set here. This piece is here. This piece is here. Okay, so I think you can mix and match here. That one, can you see? Yeah, can you see this one here? Looks like that, but then the 20 gauge over there looks like this with this L shape. So I think you can mix and match here. All this is already there. I can thread that there. All that was fine, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this end piece, because that's obviously 12 gauge. It will not fit in a 28 gauge shell. I'm going to set that with my 28 gauge, and down here from my kit, some old kit here, I'm going to take off the part that's obviously for the 28 gauge. It's going to go in like so, and I'm just going to replace it on the end here, because that's the business part of it anyway. Now this piece here, and again, your instructions tell you the name of all these things, but this piece here, I'm pretty sure is a universal size, no matter if it's the 12 or the 20. If you see, this one is threaded on both ends, so that would be like this old kit press here. It threads up into this base plate. So I'm going to put the same, gosh, I wish I could remember this part number. I'll figure it out and I'll put it in the down below. I'm gonna put this on back on there, but I'm gonna put the proper resize ring on there here that goes up there like so. And I'm also gonna use the same, this other ring here. I'm gonna put that on there. It goes up. And what this is your adjustability of when you're popping out those primers. This is what's actually going to, give you your adjustment there when you need to. So this is going to go up here like so, right back where it was. I'm going to thread that all the way up on that. And again, this one is super tight. None of my others are that tight. You also have a little bit of play there where you can adjust that. I'm going to pull this back up here like so, and then tighten that lock nut down to lock that in place and get it started. All right, so that would go like this. So now it's essentially in place that when you put your hole on here, let me make sure you can see that. I'm not moving the camera here. When I put that hole in place there, that's gonna push that out. I'm gonna tighten it up. Make sure that's not wanting to go up in there, so it might have to be tightened up and require a little more force, but you don't want to get it stuck, obviously. So let me play with that a minute and make sure I got that right. But I think that's the direction we want to go. Okay, I'm learning here. You cannot leave that piece on there for the 12 gauge, and I should have known better than that. The first one I tried to do, it destroyed my holes. Well, why? Because when you pull this down, it was mashing this into the hole and blowing it out. So you'll need to use the smaller size. Now this kit, I'm gonna set this one 12 gauge up. This kit came with two different ones. And what I wanna do is I wanna use this one that looks like this, I believe. Turn it over. Because this is the 12 gauge. This is the 28 gauge. Obviously, this blew that out. This will not. This one is for the old style. So they give you two options here in this kit that I bought off eBay, and it's threaded here. I'm gonna get this, make sure I get this right. Put this with a 12. This one is threaded here, so this part can go up on it like that. So pre-82 versus not pre-82 is going to dictate that. So this piece goes all the way up and through. I didn't take that cam off. I don't know that you need to take that cam off, but I didn't this time. So anyway, that, oh yeah, you will, to get it all the way up here like this, where you got to be. You'll need. That's why you take the cam off. So when you pull it down like that, that gets it out of the way. All right, so I'm gonna leave it like that. Let's see, it's got to be lower than that. So I gotta drop it down like so. That's your adjustment to pop it out. So I got to have it all the way down as far as it'll go. Oop, I'm hitting my. Why didn't somebody tell me that had come out? I was hitting it. Next. All right, here we go. So that was the problem. Okay. I'm going to put it about like so. And this has got to go on there. Let's see. This has got to go next. About like so. And then this goes on there. And all these things are adjustable. So you can set if you're doing a 3-inch, a 2 3/4 inch, 2 1/2 inch, all these adjustments come into play there, so you can get it where you want it, no more, no less. So this is it's called a resize ring. When you push it down on these high brass, you probably can't see the camera, it resizes that, and that's why a lot of people don't like loading a high brass shell on this 600, because it is harder to get that off. All right, so this is going to go up here like so, that, and this is where your adjustments. You're going to have to tinker a little bit. So this one's already been popped out. Luckily, I went to the range the other day and I picked up where somebody had been shooting. Put this in there like so. Something's not hitting just right. So here's where instructions come in handy. Sorry, terrible shadow here from my makeshift light. it gives two pieces of advice here. These tubes, what I was calling the support tube assembly, it's threaded on both ends. All right, so this end here towards the bottom has the most threads, and that's the way it should go. All right, so it has the most threads towards the bottom, and then the instructions do say that it, depending upon which loader you have, it'll either thread into this turret or it will thread into that piece that I showed you that was up in there. Okay, so that's what we had to do with this one. The second really good piece of advice, it says it should be adjusted when you pull this handle all the way down to the lowest position. You should have about a 1/16 inch gap between this ring, the resizer ring, and the base plate, which is that right there. So when I had it unthreaded too far out before, that's why it was giving me a problem. So you need to, in my case, it's threaded all the way up, and it gives me that roughly 1/16. I might could thread it off just a half turn, but that did well for me. It also said to tighten this with pliers once you get it kind of where you want it. So I would take that advice. Mine, this one is tight. This one is tight as well, and all those pieces are tight. So yeah, get it where you want it, then tighten it down with pliers. And mine, this nut right here, this is all tied together. It was very, very tight. Okay. So last station here is the final crimp. It should be saved for last since it is the final crimp, right? They call this the cam crimp because this cam right here is adjustable to where you pull that down and it's going to push into that crimp to push it down. So that's called the cam crimp. The instructions say to loosen this bolt, so I have to get my wrench out and loosen that bolt. And then it says turn this, what is it, 721B into crimp housing. So it says turn it clockwise completely through the bracket and remove the crimp assembly. So I guess that means it's got a flat head right here on top. So I guess that means turn it just like this. So when I'm doing that, it's getting looser. Oops. Trying to hold this, and yeah, so it's dropping down. I guess eventually it'll come all the way through. Let me set the camera up. All right, both hands now. I'm gonna continue to turn clockwise. I have to turn this nut as I go. And that nut's going to get past those threads here in a second, and it should fall through, theoretically, right? Aha, finally. All right. So I'm going to push that back up and through so it hold it all together and put it over here with my 12 gauge set here, just so it doesn't get lost. All right, so I'm going to set that over here with the 12 gauge stuff. Now I've got this piece. And it's going to do the same thing. I'm going to push it up. The 28 gauge is harder because you can't stick your finger up in there. You have to drop the nut. All right, so we'll clean this off while you got the chance here. Put that roughly in place. And then push this. You want to set your nut on top right there. Put it right there. And I'm going to need something like I got a little punch over here. I use this. Oops. I use this to push on things sometimes when I'm reloading, so I'll use that to push that back up through there. And then I can thread that through. So I'm looking at my other two loaders here, and I'm going to just try to get them set up roughly the same, because what I'm going to want to do is get it about the same height as them, and then try to tighten it down. All right, because I gotta know where this final piece is going to land. Got to go a lot higher than that, because in the end I've got to tighten this back down to see where it's going to land, and I don't know. So I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit less here than this. I think about right there. I'm just looking at my other two loaders, and they The one over here is sticking up about that high. So we'll see how it goes and just see, because if I put this hole here on there and I crimp it down, let me not ruin this one, that was my first one. Let me get one of these that was just blowing all to pieces and just kind of see where that pushes it. And see if it's not even touching it, then it's going to have to come down more. So it's a lot of fine tuning. I'm barely on the threads here. I've got to come up a lot higher than that. All right, so that's the gist of it. That's what you need to know. And then once I get it halfway dialed in, I'll show you. I remember one time saying take a loaded shell and put it in there and try to get your estimated length like that. So that's what I did. One thing I keep noticing, this powder chute is jumping out. And so I may want to raise that ram tube just a little bit, but that feels about right. Okay, so I got everything put together here, and I thought I would take you through a full cycle. So you've got the D-prime station. I'm going to pull that down. Out comes your primer, and that resizes your brass there a little bit. Of course, in these modern loads, they're really more steel than brass. But anyway, so you want to put your primer right there in that station. What I do, just I don't know, I put all my primers out here on the table the correct way and get them started first and then stick them in there. But it doesn't really matter, either way it's the same. All right, so you got that primed. So put it in this slot here, drop your powder, and I did an average drop to get I did 20 drops, and I did 10 more and 10 more to get my average drop right where I wanted based on my recipe. You pull this down, and your wide pressure guide, I'm coming down to about 40 there, just a little bit of pressure on that. Dropping my shot, put into my pre-crimp station, and then put into my final crimp. And there you go. So these are the 4. I tried a couple of Brownings and a couple of the Federal Top Guns, and there's the end result. It looks great. Let me show you one thing we ran into. The reason it was destroying, I don't know if I showed you that or not, it was destroying these in the final crimp, is because the previous person, how they had it set up, this cam was moved all the way down. So I moved it back to the neutral position, and then you turn it just a little at a time to where you want it. I put it dead neutral, and the first one I did was this one right here. And you can see how it looks. So hope you can see. Let me get more in there. So you can see there's 3, 4 that I ruined, but in the final product, it's working great. So anyway, if you're still around, thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.